Hey, what's up? So, Damsel is one of those movies that feels like it was actually written by ChatGPT. I know you hear that every day. You watch reviews and you hear people talk of, oh, this movie feels like it was written by ChatGPT. But this one felt either the first draft was drafted by ChatGPT, or they had a skeleton and they just used it as a prompt to generate a full script. Why? This feels like, let's take How to Train Your Dragon plus Shrek, then put that in Tomb Raider universe, and then add a dragon. That must have been the prompt, because there are so many plot holes in this movie that it doesn't feel like it went through a human being. There are moments you ask yourself, wait, what? So if that happened, then this should have happened like this. Anyway, we're going to get to that. This movie, for me, the three main characters, because I actually enjoyed this movie. On the first watch, this was a very, very entertaining movie. It had all the ingredients for a fun-filled action movie. Millie Bobby Brown is awesome, but she has also her issues. But generally, she feels like The Rock when The Rock was working on Black Adam. The way he was committed, like he was all out there. This is my movie, and I have to make it happen, because The Rock was the producer on Black Adam, and Millie Bobby Brown is also the producer in this particular film. So she has that, drive, that she knows that she's driving the movie, and so she comes all out. She gives her all in this particular movie, which is pretty awesome, because it works for some particular scene, especially during the second act when she goes into that particular cave with the dragon. Those are some of the most intense moments when you are introduced to the dragon and her trying to find out what the dragon is until a particular point. There are moments that you can actually empathize with her because of what she's going through and how she's expressing it. So she was pretty awesome. Angela Bassett is the reason that I went into this movie. I'm just being honest. I totally, absolutely love her. I think she's one of the most underrated actors out there. I like to think of her as the queen. And that's why I went in specifically. It's not about the fairy tale, it's not about the dragon. I went into this movie because of Angela Bassett. She's paired with Ray Winstone as her husband, and she's Eloyd's character, Eloyd's stepmom, and they have a smaller sister. And so she's pretty good for a stepmom, because in Africa we usually have that notion, not in Africa, all over the world, we usually have that notion that the stepmothers are usually very tough. They're not good people. They give the stepkids a terrible time. They make their life miserable. But in this movie, wow, the Nini is pretty awesome. The stepmom, played by Angela Bassett, she's supportive. She actually plays a big role within the movie, and I understand why she's there and why she does some things, and why she doesn't, after getting stabbed, doesn't immediately die. She comes back after the whatever. So it makes sense, because, and this is where things actually start getting complicated. But we'll get to that. Let's focus on the good. Let's just focus on the positive first, because in a logical review, we're supposed to look at what did not work and what actually worked. So now we're looking at what worked. As I was saying, Ray Winstone is also in the film. He is Elliot's dad, and pairing Ray Winstone and Angela Bassett, that's a movie I would want to see, because there are moments that I was looking at both of them, because these are seasoned actors. They know what they're doing, and I was like, wow, these are actually pros, because they convince you, they sell you the idea that they are actually two people who are in love. They have so much chemistry. I was shocked by just, especially when they're introduced, when they're together, when they land in this fairy tale land, and they walk out of the boat, and they're looking at each other, they're holding each other's arms. You can tell that these are actors who know what they're doing. They have very little screen time, but they make it actually work. So Ray Winstone was a very, very good surprise for me, and plus he was in Beowulf, which is another movie that involved a dragon. But in this one, I absolutely loved his character, especially when paired with Angela Bassett. Happy moments and also dramatic moments. When you see them together during one particular dramatic moment, you actually look at this and go like, these are the only pros in this particular movie when it comes to performances. So Millie Bobby Brown was awesome. The dragon was pretty cool. The design is different, but different in a good way. I like it because it's unlike any other dragon design that I've seen in most movies. each movie will have its own design, it will have its own look, but this was more menacing. It did not make sense for what happened during the third act, because that was one of the most difficult. Anyway, we're looking at the positives. We'll talk about the bad, we'll talk about the dragon. But in terms of design, it looked good. I think there are obvious moments of CGI, especially one during the third act. I don't know if it was the lighting. There's some like, you go like, God damn, that's actually a model. That's a 3D model. People, what happened? Where are the details? So the dragon it's the idea that they had with the fire, because it's not actually fire. It's like, it's like molten something. It's like lava. It's less of a flame and more of lava. And I thought that was pretty creative. It was giving itself its own distinct look. The story behind the dragon, Anyway, let's just jump. The CGI. Generally, the movie looks good. There was an attempt to make something that looks good. Yes, it doesn't work at times, but there was an attempt to make something that actually looks good, because at some points it actually looks beautiful. You actually go like, wow, that looks like a fairy tale land. The props, the design of the movie is pretty distinct. They had these masks. There's a thing that they have these really cool masks on during a particular ceremony. I was like, that's cool. They have these golden chariots, and you're like, yeah, there's an attempt by the art department to actually make something good. From the costumes to those what are they called, the chariots, to just how the details with the with the armor. The gold, the crowns, all the small details. There's a place that has a lot of crystals. You can see that the art department was making an effort to actually get this thing to work. The visual effects also complement that. Yes, there are some really blatant, obvious moments you go like, God damn, come on, that's a green screen. But generally, there was an attempt. What else? Man, the tension within the movie was actually good. Especially there's a second act when you are introduced to that cave, up to trying to navigate the caves and actually go. It was intense, and I actually loved it. If you watch it for the first time, it changes when you know what's going to happen. If you're watching it for the second time, I'm just being honest, it becomes a bit boring. But during that first time watch, it was kind of entertaining. It was kind of cool. You were like, wow, this is actually, there's a lot of tension with this, and I actually kind of like it. Now, the negatives, oh my goodness. So this was an event movie, so it feels like, Women's Day is predominantly women. It's actually geared, and the messaging is so strong. It's like, look at us girls. There's nothing wrong with that as long as it's well done. But this is one of those movies that I wouldn't encourage Hollywood to make. And I actually wouldn't encourage you to give it a double thumb. Netflix usually asks you to give either a thumbs down, one thumb up, or 2 thumbs up. This is a movie that I will encourage you not to give the 2 thumbs up, because this is less of what you're supposed to see. It's so poorly written that you feel like it was written by ChatGPT. There are so many plot holes. An example being Ray Winston's character, the father. Something happens to him. And then in that cave, because it's a fairy tale world, there are these worms that can actually make you recover stuff. So something happens to the dad, and you're like, okay, chick, this is your father, you love him, right? So you're going to actually leave him there instead of finding those worms and just pouring them on his chest to see if they can actually heal them. The daughter doesn't make an attempt to actually save his father. But yet, a few scenes later, guess what? She actually saves a dragon that has been attempting to kill her throughout the movie. I know it makes sense to save her. I know it makes sense. In order to end the story, you'll need to save the dragon in order to do that thing. But why save this creature that was trying to kill you all throughout and leave out your father to actually die? Yet you have those magical worms with you that can actually heal someone. So that for me was like, I don't know where I know it's supposed to be all girls and stuff, because also the dragon is female. And you go like, okay, I get it. It's okay, let's kill Ray Winston. Poor Ray Winston, man. He was in Black Widow, given the same kind of treatment, in quotes. And this movie is also a girl power movie, and he dies immature death. I would call it that, a premature death. Anyway, the other thing, think of a dragon. A dragon it's literally producing lava from its most sensitive part of its body, the mouth and the intestines. those are extremely sensitive areas, and it's producing lava from those parts of the body. So, and it's actually, it at some point it sets the clouds on fire. It flies around breathing fire on the clouds, and all around the mountain, right? You get that, right? And all that fire is coming from where? It's coming from inside the mouth. It's coming from the throat, one of the most sensitive parts of the body. Then, do you know what the end part is? And this is spoiler. This is spoiler, and it's the dumbest move I've ever seen. So the dragon, Elliot goes somewhere where there's a curve. So now when the dragon spits the lava, it's reflected to the dragon, and it lands on the dragon's skin on this side, around the head, where you can actually see that it's plated by big scales, and it actually burns the dragon. So I was like, how is that even possible? If that dragon was setting the cloud on fire and it was flying around, see, it almost got burnt every now and then. How is it possible that now the lava that comes from one of the most sensitive part of his body is actually burning the exterior part of the body, which is more armored than the softer part of the body? That for me did not make sense, and I thought it was, again, ChatGTP written by AI, because it doesn't feel like it went through someone. It doesn't feel like it went through a human being who was questioning these ridiculous moves. The other, I mean, if it cannot burn the throat, why would it burn the outside? The throat and the mouth are some of the most. Yeah, I think that was pretty dumb. The other part was like, there's a part that she goes into a cave, and there are all these other girls who have already been there, who've been drawing, maps, leaving information about where they were. And the information, one, is too clean. Number two, they have a scene whereby she stops and she sees a vision of all those women that were there before her. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the checklist, man. The diversity assembly, whereby you have to show the black people, you have to show the reasonably plumpy people, you have to show the Asian people, you have to show every community that you are inclusive, you have to show and frame, because it's framed to show that. It's like on your face, look, we have a Chinese person. Look, we have a black people, you have a black person for you. And they do a lot of that. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that. When you think of African American actors, I think Angela Bassett, as I said, one of the positives, Angela Bassett performance, especially with Ray Winston, amazing. I actually forget that, because she fully embodied the character, and it feels like that role was meant for her. It was perfect for her, because she's more of an inspiration. She's a loving mom, in quote, and she actually sells that very well, because she's a pro. But every now and then a character will pop up somewhere, and then they will be framed in a certain way, and you'll go like, okay, so that's diversity. They're literally trying to show us like, look, we have a black person. It's not that there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't feel organic. It feels manufactured. It feels like this movie was conceptualized by the marketing department. Like they sat down and went like, look, Women's Day is coming, so how do we capitalize on this? Let's make a fairy tale movie that shows a powerful, heroic female character, and let's ensure that we include everyone. Black people, Asian people, let's ensure that they have properly, like, on your face frame, so that everyone can see that Netflix is diverse and we are here to capture everyone. And it's not about diversity, it's about capturing the full market. It's like they want this movie to work everywhere in the continent. They want it to work for black people, they want to work it for Asian people, because they're like, look, we have Chinese people. There's a scene that I think it could have been edited and it would have worked. You actually see them just move to a side character who just happens to be Asian, and frame frame them. They're not important in the movie, but they just frame them like they're actually an important character. And they give you that like 2 seconds to actually acknowledge that, look, it's an Asian character. I don't think she says anything, but they just frame it that way. Now, I'm not anti that. All I'm saying is that if, for example, one of the, if the prince was African American, I wouldn't have a problem with that. But if an African American character is strategically placed in the background to be like a soldier or something, then I have a problem with that, because you're literally trying to play the diversity card. And as I said, I have nothing with that. But give these diversity characters enough to do in your film. Don't try to play cards with that. This is a joke. It's a really bad joke when it comes to that. They should have done with all the other black characters what they did with Angela Bassett. That's all I'm trying to say. Anyway, apart from that, the CGI was dodgy. It was like not very good. That third actor I had a problem with. The other thing is Millie Bobby Brown. I had an issue with the fact that, man, she did a great job. I cannot, because she literally almost carries this movie, because this story is all about her, and it's she sells the emotions, she sells everything. But as I said before, this feels like The Rock in Black Adam. Sometimes you can feel that she's doing too much. Sometimes, like that ending, oh my goodness, there's an ending on a bridge. I was like, that's the world most unnecessary scene that I've ever seen. Yeah, you want to show us that she's badass, but my goodness, there could have been a better way to frame this. Because one, the CGI is bad. It's obvious that the background is a blue screen. Then the dragon, the way they try to capture her from below with the dragon above, looks cool, but it doesn't really go long enough to actually look cool. It looks awkward. Let me just frame it that way. It looks awkward. If she was running in that like she's happy, or she has attained something, or she's free from something, that could have been cool. If you're catwalking straight into the camera, nah, that doesn't work. It's so pretentious, and so like it's going to look awkward in the future. You know, people are going to be looking back like, wait, you remember back in 2000 when? Anyway, let me not go there. Let me not go there. Anyway, the other thing that I actually did not like was the story is disjointed. The story is everywhere. Yes, there's a structure. There's a structure, and it's easy to follow, and it's very entertaining. But at sometimes, especially when she gets into the cave, and then she has to go through a hole, and then she has to go back in, and then she goes out back again, and then again the clouds are on fire, and then she has to go back in again. So that in and out, sometimes go to a place where you went like, come on, how far can we push this? You know, there was no effort to either contain it in that one space or get it out. You know, there was that at one point she's almost rescued, then she has to go back because her dad is in there. Then those people get killed, and then she escapes outside, and then now the sister is brought in, and then now she has to go back in again. So that disjointed flow sometimes was, yes, subverting, but sometimes exhausting for the viewer. Yeah, so basically that's it. This is it's not a bad movie. It's actually entertaining. It will give you what you're looking for if you just want to be entertained. If you're a woman, you'll have a blast. If you're a dude, there are a lot of moments that will roll your eyes. Even from the beginning, from the immediate start, there are some scenes you'll go like, oh my goodness. Strong female character, generic, strong female character. I think, you just think the Marvels in a way, but without the powers. There's that just feeling of, we just need to send a message, and you need to make this as female as possible. So basically that's it. If I was to give this out of 5, I would give this a 2.5, because the entertainment factor is there, the tension is there, but everything else, the looks are there. But then the opposite side is that it fails on so many things. Strong, too much messaging on your face, diversity push. It feels as generic as they come. There are so many plot holes. Even the main character does not have an arc. You know, an arc whereby you start a different person and then you end up being a totally different person. Your experience having changed you to become something. How it begins is how it ends. But it only ends without the, what is it called? The axe and the wood. And sadly, that just kills everything for me, because the story is affected by, you know, that need to push a particular agenda and to align to a particular gender. You know, because it's a very female-centric movie, and they forget that you need to actually write a good story. And at the end of the day, it actually feels like it was written by ChatGTP. Please subscribe and follow me if you want to see more. So yeah, basically that's it. Thanks for watching. Remember to always watch what you enjoy and enjoy what you watch. I shall see you on the next one.